I'm Heather, and the article that I chose, I'll read you the title. It says, leaders of the anti-vaccine movement used Stop the Steal crusade to advance their own conspiracy theories. Okay, so you're going to click on the article, I'm assuming, and read it. And you're going to see that it's from CNN. And I want to point out that some of these issues are hot button topics, and I really don't mean to offend anybody. I'm an independent, and I try to get, use sources that are bipartisan. They're very hard to find, but I kind of just wanted to start off saying that for my own comfort. These two leaders of the anti-vax movement, I didn't really know that that was a leader. I don't know. But it is an organization. They went on national news to talk about the vaccine and how they disagree with it, and to talk about Fauci and not to trust him. But they started going into talk of the election and how it was fraudulent on live national television. So I felt like this correlated to a lot of things from our reading. I chose to talk about chapter 8 to make my 3 associations, but I'm going to jump into chapter 7, get some extra credit, and make some connections on that too, because there were a lot of things that, as I was reading this, I'm like, ooh, I could choose this, I could choose that. It was a good article for this. So page 193 says that leadership is human communication, which modifies the attitudes and behaviors of others in order to meet shared groups, goals, and needs. So they went on to the news station. A lot of people thought that they were going to talk about the vaccine, and then they used that to push, the election fraud and how basically everybody can't be trusted. So I would say, that would meet the shared groups, the group's shared goals and needs. They're part of MAGA. And another correlation from chapter 7, it says also, from this perspective, leadership is less about simply getting goals accomplished and more about influencing the attitudes and behaviors necessary to meet the organization's goals and needs. And they talked at the MAGA Freedom Rally and was just said, we're being let off a cliff, and it basically said the same thing that they were saying on the news, but they didn't tell the news that they were coming on there to talk about that. So again, shared groups, goals. To chapter 8 we will go, and I talked about stereotypes. Stereotypes are generalizations that people tend to create based on social classifications. Page 251. I don't know if you're going to watch the video too, but on the video they, talked about the left, and I think that they kind of generalized things. I mean, there's a lot of that going on. I feel like party-wise, people are calling each other, Trumpers or libtards, or I don't know. There's a lot of people not wanting to trust anything that one side says. So I would say that stereotyping. Organizational members, interactions become implanted in organizational culture. Image, identity, and culture are all interrelated and together. And it creates assumptions that may mold the everyday things that occur within the organization. So MAGA is an organization. And I feel like, if you want to go into image, identity, culture, you can be seeing them in another video with the MAGA hats and things like that. So I guess that would be image, culture. Yeah. 237 talks about how an organization's identity can condition its members to hone in on certain problems, and disregard others. There's plenty of other things happening in the world, but I feel like we can tend to hyper-focus on certain things and become really passionate about that. So to me, if you're very passionate and protesting against a vaccine and election and stuff, you're probably honing in on those problems and disregarding some other issues that are going on. Mainstream media, some are like, whoa, how come nobody talked about that? It's because we have these huge headline things happening. So I think we all kind of can get into that a little bit. An organization's identity can condition its members. Oh, I already read that one. So page 240 talks about how identification can inevitably make you feel as if you're psychologically intertwined with the fate of the group. MAGA and Trump, I mean, people are a part of groups because they make themselves feel a part of things too. So I think that maybe people are holding on to this election fraud because they don't want their group ties to go down as well. You know, they finally feel part of something. So I feel like that could be kind of sad for them too. So maybe they're holding on to it as well. And then my take on how I see the ethical issue, I think it's unethical. They probably do sincerely believe anti-vax and to not vaccinate and things like that. I like to look at science and things like that. And personally, you know, my great grandma, I really would like her to get the vaccine. She's 98, but she watches Fox News and she just thinks it's terrible and bad. And I want to show her studies. I'm like, well, you know, I don't know. It seems unethical to me. I suppose ethics can go hand in hand with intent. If their intent is really purely behind their passion of thinking that it's bad and wrong and unhealthy, then, I mean, it's kind of like the gray area of ethics. So that's my take on it. Thank you.